is Arukh HaShulchan Yardea Siman Yud Ches Sif Mem Beis Mem Daled. This is Supplemental Day 93 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi series. Mem days. So we're talking about what to do about potential corruption, where the sheikhet is also the butcher. However, it isn't known. Okay. That's the way it was at the time of the Gemara. The person who shechted the meat was also the person who sold the meat. They said, they said that every butcher who does not know the laws of shechita not allowed to eat from a shechita. Also says there in Daf Ches, the butcher has to have 3 knives. One which he shechts, one which he butchers with. So the slaughterer was also the butcher. Also very difficult. In the primary concern which we have, where have we ever found that we suspect a kosher Jew that account of making some money, he'll give people treif to eat. It says later on explicitly, the Raki Yisrael Chashul Chashdinan V'lo Chashena Chashul. Only concerned with a Jew who's already been suspected, not to somebody who's never been suspected. Because I didn't doing Miras Mumei Bechor, and the roots of this halacha, it comes from the halacha of who can inspect blemish in a bechor. Bechor is tav chavtes. Sheito b'shaveh bein yatenu lo yater. Chum required that the person who's inspecting the movement should take his fee, whether he permits it or doesn't permit it. B'yishum chashta, on account of suspicion. That people should not say he's permitted on account of his profit. Yesh man lo dam. You can say it's not comparable. The bechor tam lishchot b'chutz have isakaris. The bechor tam, which to shecht outside the base of Mikdash, involves prohibition of kares. Says Chazal are concerned if it's a kares to require a higher level of confidence. But not for shechita, which is only a prohibition of a law if it's treif. You don't stop pay base. It says that if it's a deraisa issue, we're not concerned. We don't distinguish whether it's a prohibition which is only a negative prohibition generically, or a negative prohibition which involves a prohibition of kares. That's where something where we should be suspicious ab initio to begin with. Something where we're just distancing ourselves from an issue which is not necessarily on our radar screen to begin with. Such as concern where there's a suspicion, etc. Rashi there's explicitly they are concerned only by nisakaris, not by lo bisolab, not by prohibition, which is just a simple negative command. Also it says there, the Bechor is in a assumption of prohibition. A human being, has no capacity to remove it from chazaka because he's not allowed to put a blemish in it. Therefore, removes it from the assumption of prohibition just by a verbal statement. Says a permanent move. They're certainly appropriately concerned. They shouldn't have any vested interest in this. But the shechita anyway should be so he does have the tool. He can shecht it and remove it from its assumption of prohibition. That's why the reason why one person is believed and 8 echad is believed, like we said previously. And after the shechita, it's assumed to be mutter. So the knife is assumed to be checked. There's no reason to be suspicion. Furthermore, it's not comparable to b'chor at all. Also, maybe a leaves there. It's a psak. Leaves you have a mum to rule if it's a mum im lav or not. But Torah doesn't have a mum about hara. The Torah forbade receiving money for psakim. I'm sure the Chazon Ish would agree with this, who holds that shochat is a unique issur for Choshen Mishpat. But to receive the Torah, we already had in the past. I don't remember where, because Baruch Hashem, a lot of Baruch HaShulchan over the years, but the Baruch Hashem does disagree with that Chaznish. Kamosha also Kaba Mom Ba'ad Din Torah, just like you're not allowed to receive money for Din Torah, Choshe Mishpat, Choseidus are giving testimony. Kabur Sham is explained there. Also, maybe it's in some other day here. That makes sense, right? Because that's where we had that locha. So just like that, you're also not allowed to get paid for a psak and you're there or a chaim. The only reason they admit is because you might come to you need to get paid for the amount of time which you could have invested and made money elsewhere. So therefore, since the primary concept of a payment is not according to the halacha, not appropriate. So the Chacham were legitimately concerned by Bcharos. There shouldn't be something blatant. That he was only taking into account passing his mutter. Therefore, they it's the that the expert who's inspecting the blemishes of the Bechor should take the money whether he permits it or not. But this butcher who's getting his parnasa, his payment, whether it's from his shchita or whether it's in selling the meat, she ain't kind of raw. There's no psak, and then leave there's a psak. He takes it to rav. And there's no premonition or prohibition in his payment. He's only a worker. Tasking urine, and he goes down to this this source of livelihood with this intention. If his work is successful, his hands, he'll get paid. If not, he won't get paid. If not, he won't get paid. There's no concern for suspicion. Never concerned this at all. The ancients who were concerned with this, it's only like a measure of additional piety. Efsher places it's possible to be concerned with this. It's possible for Dio, it's enough to fix in most places that the person who slaughters should not be the person who sells the meat. Where it's not possible, there's no concern according to the strict letter of law. And it says, brackets, this is his opinion. So obviously, HaShulchan was confronted with the reality that they didn't have an OU or OK or Kufke or Stark or whatever they have today, that the big cautious organization which can give national hashgachas even in remote places, and therefore he had to be realistic. He had to be matir shochtim to get paid for their shchita, even in place where hashgacha is not possible, and to rely on them. Okay, Mem Dalet. Old custom seafood test. They also write in seafood test. Reuven said to Shimon, Badok sakin zu, check this knife. Ubadka shnei pamim me'ashneim shnei masor shetzarich. He checked it 2 times from the 12 that is necessary. I don't know where the 12 comes from, but Nasa Reuven gave to Reuven had a look lishchot, and Reuven was going to shecht it. Well, the 12 times you have to check the knife. Okay, so the 12 they were like this. School that. I don't remember we had this. I guess maybe we had it without actually giving the number 12. You go the 3 sides of the knife, right? So each of them you have to go back and forth twice, on the edge of the knife and the 2 sides of the knife. So going back and forth once would be 6 checks, and going back and forth another time is makes it 12 altogether. Okay, as we saw, at the time the HaShulchan says once at a time they did both the flesh and the nail, but now it seems to do that specifically with the nail. Okay, so he only did 2 of the checks. He gave to Reuven. Reuven was going to check. Levi took it from his hands and what's up? Kuma. If I was spoken. Ruvain meets not sell. Ruvain is apologized. So Shadai wrote to Vodka, and he was still going to check it properly. What he's suspect. It seems that he clearly felt that these 2 checks out of 12 are enough. The field might be so therefore remove him. Remove him as a reading shak. It seems it was like a mistake. For sure, Adam Shalom Kash is a good person, but he has to put him back. As long as he sets himself not to return to this practice. Mashi sounds from what they're saying. I feel even it seems it was inadvertent. So the Shaw, we remove him temporarily. So and then we put him back. Look, because it doesn't say you don't move him. So it's to put him back. By time reasons, any unintentional slippage also requires atonement. It's supposed to be extremely careful. So every day not to come to an inadvertent mistake. That's why it requires a sacrificial offering if you committed a sin inadvertently. So we embarrass him temporarily, immediately reinstall him. So obviously, so he knows that Shimon has not yet checked it properly. I will show you other mistakes. I didn't know that Shimon only checked 2 other 12 sides. He has no guilt. The guilt is incumbent upon Shimon. Shlodio didn't tell him what he was about the incomplete checking process. Says that seems to be the case in the Shach. And primarily in these matters, it has to do with the judgment of the Beis Din, if you don't say no, according to how they see things, and according to the value of the shochet, to the extent that he is assumed to be God-fearing, and diligent in his work, and anything similar.